Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Paranormal News. Tonight's article comes from BigThink.com, and the headline is kind of a weird one, but a kind of cool one. The headline is Octopus like creatures inhabit Jupiter's moon, claims space scientist. A leading British space scientist thinks there is life under the ice sheets of Europa. It was written by Paul Ratner and it was published May 3rd, 2020. A British scientist named Professor Monica Grady recently came out in support of extraterrestrial life on Europa. Europa, the sixth largest moon in the solar system, may have favorable conditions for life under its miles of ice. The moon is one of Jupiter's 79. Alien hunting is a hopeful activity and one reason behind our space programs that the public generally supports. Looking for other life is a strong incentive to be venturing out into space, despite having found none so far. A top British space scientist, Professor Monica Grady, gave all cosmic explorers a big dose of such hope in a recent speech. She is certain there's some form of life on Jupiter's moon, Europa. This life would not look human, but more like an octopus, and is likely residing in the cold waters under the moon's sheet of ice. Grady, a professor of planetary and space science and chancellor at Liverpool Hope University, think there's a great likelihood of undiscovered life somewhere in our galaxy. She also supposes that the deeper caves and cavernous spaces of Mars could be harboring some subterranean creatures, likely bacteria, there to escape the solar radiation. They could be getting water from the ice buried deep down. When it comes to the prospects of life beyond Earth, it's almost a racing certainty that there's life beneath the ice on Europa, she said in a February address. She thinks these life forms on Europa, 390 million miles from Earth, could be higher in sophistication than the Martian bacteria, possibly having the intelligence of an octopus. Where would the creatures live on this moon of Jupiter? Somewhere below the very thick layer of ice, which goes 15 miles deep in some places. It's possible there is liquid water beneath all that ice, keeping whatever lies inside protected against radiation and the impact of asteroids and similar smashing bodies. The likelihood of life on Europa is bolstered by the possible hydrothermal vents on its ocean floor. Such vents are cradles of life on Earth. Grady thinks that our solar system doesn't have to be particularly special, and that statistically speaking, as we explore other stars and galaxies, we should be able to find conditions for life. I think it's highly likely there will be life elsewhere, and I think it's highly likely they'll be made of these same elements, stated the professor. Grady did not want to guess whether we would contact extraterrestrials anytime soon, citing the fact that distances between us and likely aliens might be gigantic. On the other hand, she added, if you look at a grain of sand, you can see that most of it is made up of silicates, but it's also got little patches of carbon in it. And that carbon is extraterrestrial because it contains nitrogen and hydrogen, which is not a terrestrial signature. This tiny sample, says Grady, shows it was hit by meteorites, asteroids, and interstellar dust, pointing out it's giving us an idea of how complex the record of extraterrestrial material really is. As for Europa, it has certainly figured in conversations about alien life previously. As NASA explains, scientists call Europa an ocean world, due to decades of observations that predict an ocean under its sheets of ice. In 2019, water vapor was confirmed there by NASA for the first time. While it might just have the right conditions for life, does this moon have little octopus ETs swimming about? Future studies will tell. And that is the end of this article. So this is a very interesting one. I mean, the idea that there could be some sort of life on Europa is not revolutionary or groundbreaking in any way. Uh, that's something that scientists have believed for quite a long time, that there is a great potential for life on Europa. They've also known for quite a long time that, or at least believed for quite a long time, that there was an ocean underneath the ice of Europa. So that's not new. But the idea that the alien life in that ocean might resemble octopus, that's kind of new. I don't know what she's really basing that on. I guess just because it's an ocean, and that would make sense. But it's really hard to tell what kind of life could be under there. There could be creatures that we've never even imagined that live in that ocean. I mean, it's really anybody's guess. Now, if you look at oceans on Earth and you extrapolate that data that we have from the oceans on Earth to the ocean on Europa, then maybe there would be octopus-like creatures. There could be sharks, fish, all kinds of stuff. It all depends on the makeup of that water. Is that water like the water on Earth? Can the animals on Earth survive in that ocean? Is it the same as ours, or is it different? What are the water temperatures? That'd be another really big thing to consider when you think about what kind of life could survive there. Now, there's life that survives in the deepest parts of the ocean where it's very, very cold here on Earth. And there's life that survives literally inside and on the edges of the thermal vents. And those things are a higher temperature, and they are spewing out noxious gases all the time because they're coming from down in the earth where there's magma and all that. So you've got methane, you've got all kinds of stuff coming out of there that would be poisonous to most life. But there is life that lives inside those vents and around them. Now, most of that is like little bacterial life and little bitty creatures, but still, it's life. So if we look at Earth, we can see that life survives in a lot of different environments. So just because it might be cold, or just because it might be hot, or just because the makeup of the water might be a little bit different than ours, does not necessarily mean that life could not live there. And I agree with the scientists. I think that there's a very good chance that there's life on Europa. I also think there's life on Mars. I think that they've actually found, when they did some of the soil samples, they found bacterial life on Mars already. So I think that there's probably more complex life down underground as well. And that'll be interesting to learn in the future when we eventually go there, and we can see what's going on Mars. I think eventually we'll get to Europa too and check that out. It'll just be a while because that's pretty damn far away. But anyway, that's the article. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. What do you think of the idea of aliens on Europa? And what do you think of the possibility that they could be octopus? That's kind of interesting. Let me know down in the comments, and as always, it's completely up to you to decide. And I will catch you on the next one. Until I speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do I. Bye-bye.